Greetings. Welcome to Dr. English's Book Lovers Book Club. I'm Dr. English, and I teach English. This week, I'm going to review Salt to the Sea by Ruta Sepetys. It rhymes with spaghetti. I had to look that up too. This is the book that some of my students had chosen for a book club book. And they said, this is so good. And other people in the class who didn't get a chance to be in the book club because they get a sign up and they wanted to get this book, and there were only 4 or 5 that could be in a group, had read it and they wanted to reread it. And I've reread it. And this is a historical fiction, which obviously for being a teacher of English and literature, I really do like a good historical novel. And it's based on 1940s in Germany, or really Prussia, more like in the Baltic. And it's an account, an historical account, a fictionalized account of the Wilhelm Gustloff, the sinking of it, which was a German ship, and it was like a hospital ship, and then they brought it to wartime, and it was the evacuation of Prussia and Germany right at the end when the Russians were coming. And so it's based on this happening, and it was like the largest maritime disaster in history. More people perished than what the Lusitania or the Titanic, and yet there was really not a lot ever written about it, or it wasn't talked about. And so the first part of this is, like I said, there are 4 main characters. There is Florian, who was he was a young man who was doing forgeries. He was taught how to do forgeries with art, and so he was there when people were stealing art, and he was not. He thought he was doing such good things, and he realized what was really going on, and so very unhappy about what was taking place. And then Joanna is like she's like a nurse who had been working in a hospital with a surgeon, and then there's a couple other minor, and then there's this Amelia, who is actually my favorite character, and she is an incredible human being, and I won't say anything more about that, but she is Polish, and if you know anything about World War II and being a person who is not considered Aryan, and you had Jews, but you had Poles and Roma and LGBTQ people, all were considered not worthy of living. And so there's this underscore of her being Polish. And it was kind of, and I have Polish ancestry. My mother's 100% Polish. And it was really enlightening to me. I've always known that there was, Poles were looked down upon by Germans in particular, and Russians. And so that part of it was really eye-opening to me to see, that kind of portrayed in this. And then the other one is, what's his name? Alfred? I think it's Alfred. Yeah, and he is a young boy who's a sailor on this ship and trying to get it ready. And for a while I thought, why did she put him in there? Because he's so ridiculous. But I understand now, after rereading it, it's like, he is so ridiculous, but he also spouts all the Nazi kind of tenets and yet he's not really like Aryan looking. He's, he didn't go into the service until really late, so his mother tried to keep him out of the war and protect him. And it's just the bigotry and the hatred is really embodied in Alfred. Yet he really wasn't, a great specimen, and the other sailors and people make fun of him. But she does such a good job of weaving this all together. And then there's also the shoe poet. He's a cobbler and a wandering boy, and other minor characters that really play a part in it, though. It's just like, even though they don't have a voice in the point of view throughout the novel, you get to hear who they are and their story. And I think she did that so well that she, wanted to show like all these different varying people who are walking in the bitter cold of winter to get to this port, to get to the ship so they could leave before the Russians came. uh, and because they had heard so, I mean, there's so many horrendous torture kinds of rape and things that were done by the Russian soldiers. And so so they're all, most of the journey throughout the book is they're on the road, and then you get, you know, the reveal of some of their life stories throughout the this, you know, this, all these different perspectives, and you're getting these individual stories of these people trying to flee um, before the Russians come to Germany and Prussia. They were, you know, on the, they were right there. You know, they get to the ship just in time, and and you also imagine all these hundreds, you know, thousands of people that couldn't get on the ship, and they put this ship, you know, it was like a capacity of 1,500, and they had like 10,000 people on this ship, of people wanting to flee the Russian invasion into Germany. And so just a little bit of background I'm going to give you through Amelia's point of view, which I think gives you an idea of what was going on at that time. During, you know, it's almost to the end of World War II. But here is Amelia's voice. On September 1st, 1939, Germany invaded Poland from the west. On September 17th, 1939, Russia invaded Poland from the east. I remembered these dates. Two warring nations gripped Poland like girls fighting over a doll. One held the leg, the other the arm. They pulled so hard that one day the head popped off. The Nazis sent our people to ghettos and concentration camps. The Soviets sent our people to gulags in Siberia. I was 9 years old when it started. People changed, faces shriveled and sunk like baked apples. Neighbors spoke in whispers. I watched them play their games. I observed them when they weren't looking. I learned. But how long could I play this game? A ploy of war both outside and inside. What would happen if I actually made it to the West? Would I be able to reveal myself as Amelia Stoschek, a girl from Lviv? Would Germany be safe for me? Once the war ended, which side would be the right side for a Pole? And then later in the book, this is also Amelia. What was I going to do? Should I run? My panic seemed to increase the pain and cramping below my waist. Oh, I forgot to mention, Amelia's like 9 months pregnant. Don't worry, insisted Joanna. I'll think of something. I hated the ship. It was steel, lifeless, and hollow inside. I would rather be in a small wooden boat carved from an old tree or even a floating nutshell. I detested still birds and boats. These sterile boats were not made to appreciate the sea. Boats of steel were boats of war. Part of me hoped they would send me away, tell me that I didn't belong, that I should run back to the forest and the birds. Johanna said the Wilhelm Gustloff was a KDF ship. I knew what that meant. August had told me. KDF, Kraft durch Freude, strength through joy. KDF was a national German organization that was supposed to make leisure activities available to the masses, regardless of social class. Hitler said KDF brought opportunity for everyone. All were equal. But how could all be equal if some were favored? Like Hitler, August's mother believed in a master race. I was Polish, so in her opinion, I was not part of it. Somewhere behind the locked door in my mind, I heard the echo of Erna Kleist's stringent voice. Not that one. This one is prettier. The Wilhelm Gustloff was pregnant with lost souls conceived of war. They would crowd into her belly, and she would give birth to their freedom. But did anyone realize? The ship was christened for a man, Wilhelm Gustloff. My father had told me about him. He had been the leader of the Nazi Party in Switzerland. He was murdered. The ship was born of death. This is a book that I really, like I said, I've read it twice, and both times because I love history. And then I went and did some Google searches about the ship. But in the back, she does a really good job of citing her sources and talking about the people that really helped her in her research for this. And she has like 2 or 3 pages of just research and sources, and thank yous to people who helped her with the research on this book. There was one person in particular that I think ran a museum, and she really was praised him highly for what he had gathered about information about this sinking of this ship. And I just find it fascinating that she was able to imagine all of these, people. There's, 10,000 people on this boat. And then she also talked to some of the survivors of this that were still alive. And I really admire that. So if you really do like a historical fiction, I think you'll really enjoy this book. And you don't know what the reference is about Salt to the Sea until almost the very end, because I kept thinking, why? What is the reference to the title? It's not anywhere obvious until almost to the very end, and I just thought that was brilliant on her part to leave us thinking about that until the very end. And so I'm anxious. I really am anxious. I'd love to have interactions for people to let me know what they thought of this book, because I think most people would really enjoy it, unless you don't really like historical fiction. And as like I said, as I also like to talk about, to my pre-service teachers, I would teach this. You can teach this. You can teach it with a history teacher when it gets to World War II, because it's an incident that happened that hardly anybody talks. The ship sinks because the Russian submarines torpedo it, and it sinks pretty fast. So, and so some of the things that she describes, I think she got from those people who actually survived, because it's so realistic, and it's just like it's somewhat gruesome, but it's very realistic. And so, yeah, I definitely think you should teach this in a class, along with the social studies teacher when they get to World War II in that era. And, but also you could do it like I did. I did it with book clubs and students that were were kind of fighting for this book to be in a book club to read this. Some had already read it. Um, so yeah, highly recommend it. I think you should teach it. I think that it could be a novel panel, a book club, or a lit circle, and yes, definitely on your shelf in your classroom library. So thank you for joining me this week. Next week, I'm going to do All the Bright Places by Jennifer Niven, and I look forward to sharing my thoughts about this book, and I will see you next week. Thanks for joining. Bye.